welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I thank you for your love and for your support. Okay, guys, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to cut 5 basic necklines for beginners with their standard measurements. So I've been getting a lot of requests, as in most of my subscribers, they will tell me that really don't know the measurement to use for basic neckline. So that's what we're going to be dealing with today. If you are new to the channel, you are highly and very welcome. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. Hit on the bell on the side to get an update whenever I upload a new video. If you want to register for our online classes, you can see my number scrolling through the screen. Just send me a message on WhatsApp, and then I'll give you the details of the classes that we have available. Okay, so the first, I'm going to name the necklines that we're going to be cutting. So we're going to be cutting a basic round neckline. We'll cut a boat neckline. We're going to cut a round with a slit, a high round neckline, and then a wide round neckline. That one is like an off shoulder. Okay, so these are the 5 necklines. So these are standard necklines that, as a designer, you really know how to cut them. They are just like the basic, as in they are like the most used, and that's just the better word, like the most used necklines. Okay, so the first neckline that we're going to cut the basic neckline. So as we're cutting it, we're going to cut the back with it at once. So you see, you place, when you want to cut your neckline, make sure that your zipper allowance is out, and then you place your front pattern on it like this. So once it's like this, for this basic neckline, if you notice, the neckline is a little bit down. It's just below your knee, your neck, your collarbones. Yeah. So most times, like I normally say, you can put your tape on your shoulder and then measure it up to where you want the neckline to be. So for this kind of neckline, the standard measurement is usually about around 5 inches. So what you will do, you mark the 5 inches here, just put a mark on it, and then for the wideness of this neckline is usually 3 inches. So when you use this measurement, your neckline is going to be perfect. So you come to this point, like you leave your zipper allowance, you place your tape like this, and then you measure the width, which is 3 inches, because after stitching and turning, it's going to reduce to like, it's going to increase to like 3.5. So see what we have marked here. So I'm just going to, so you can use a pattern, your pattern curve like this, to just give it a good, you can see how it is looking, just a simple round. It is not a difficult process. I'm just going to use my free hand for those of you that don't have pattern curve. So you just curve it in like this, and then slope this point to this point like this. So you can see that is how you create that neckline. And then for the back, what you are going to do for the back pattern, you are going to use, for the back pattern, you are going to use about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So that's like, you can use either 1.5 or 2 inches. So you mark it here like this, and then make sure that this, you put a mark here, so it will help you, so you don't miss the point. Don't try to measure it like this, because if you try to measure it like this, you might miss it. During the process, you might just miss it. The zipper allowance might not work. That's what I'm trying to say. You might miss it. So this is just like the best way of marking. It's just bend and then you mark, so you now know that you have the exact points there, and then you create your curve like this for the back pattern. So make sure that you cut them. So once you cut them like this, so you can see, once your neckline is cut like this, you actually will not have any problem. And then the front one, I'm just going to cut it. Okay, so now I'm going to open them up for you to see. So this will actually help you. So you see your zipper allowance is going to stay like this. I'm just taking so much time for this first one, and then you see how it is looking. You place it on it, and make sure that when you are stitching, make sure that these two lines, they are lined. That's the front neckline and then the back neckline. Make sure they align. So once you stitch your neckline like this, there's no way you will have problem. Your neckline is going to stay and sit perfectly well for your dresses. So that's for that. So the next one we're going to cut now. So all the in this video, all of the necklines that we're going to be cutting, the back neckline is going to be that 3 inches. That is what we will use. Then when we're cutting the both neckline, we'll increase the width. So we've cut out the first one, which is the normal basic round. So the next one we're going to cut out now, we're going to cut out a round neckline with slit. So I'm just still going to take my pattern like this. So I'll just leave this on the side. So I'll show you how to measure it. So for that round one with slit also, what you are going to come, we're going to use 3 inches for the wideness. This is like standard. It actually helps 3 inches. But if you have somebody that is a plus size, you can use 3.5 or 4 inches. A plus size use 4 inches, but a normal plus size use 3.5 inches. But regular size from size 10 downwards use 3 inches. Then from size 12 upward use 3.5 inches. Then from size 20, those ones you can use 4 inches. Okay. So the next thing for this neckline, so most times when I'm marking neckline, you just leave like a quarter of an inch on top, so that you will use to stitch the shoulder. Okay. So the next thing, I'm going to measure the depth of the neckline. So for the depth of this particular neckline is not very deep, so you are going to use about 2.5 inches to create out the round. So you create it out like this. If you have a pattern curve, you place your pattern curve like this, and then you give it a good curve like this. So after cutting it, the next thing, you are going to measure how deep you want the slit to be. So most times from the down part of the neckline is usually around 5 inches. Why 5 inches? Because when you put your tape here and you measure, it's going to be like 7 inches. So that means the depth of the neckline is going to be like 7 inches. But if you want it deeper, you can go deeper. But this one should not exceed that 2.5 or high. If it is too deep, it will not be fine. As if the round on top is too deep, it will not be fine. And then this, you will just mark a straight line here like this. So the next thing now, we're going to cut this out. So you see when we place it on the back pattern, it's going to fit perfectly well. So you see it on the back. So just make sure that your back and your front is the same. So you cut this, and then after cutting, just create your slit here like this. Okay. So I'm going to use our back again to illustrate the back pattern, to illustrate it again. And then I'll open this up so you can see what we have. So you see, making sure that this part and this part aligns properly, making sure that they align properly, so you can see. So when stitching this, just make sure that they align here and then align here. So that is for that. So we're done with that. The third one that we're going to cut out now, we're going to cut out the high round neckline. So this high round neckline is like my most loving neckline. When I love it, that's just it. Most of my dresses, I always like making use of it. So this one is higher than your collar bones. So the same thing, we're going to use the same 3 inches width that we're using. So I've explained all of the measurements that you will use. Plus size, use 3.5, plus size, use 4 inches. So I'm just trying to explain it. So I'll measure 3 inches here like this. And then this particular neckline, I usually use about 1.5 inches for it, because it is going to be high. It's going to be very high on my neck. You use 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So that is it. So you mark it like this. If it exceeds that, it's not going to be a high round neckline. So you just mark it like that, and then you cut it out. For somebody that is a plus size, the depth for a plus size, you can use 4 inches, you can use 3 inches for a plus size. That size is from size 12 upwards. So you can see how high it is looking. So just make sure that the zipper allowance enters in properly. So just make sure that they align on the wideness, that's the width. Okay, so we're done with that. So the fourth one that we're going to cut out now, we're going to cut out the boat neckline. So the boat neckline is a little bit different. The boat neckline, the width is always is not we do not use three, we use about five, between 5 and 6 inches for this neckline. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark my 5 inches like this. I'll use 5 inches for normal size person, like size 10 downwards. You can use 5 inches, but from size 12 upward, you can use from 6 inches for the neckline, for the width of the neckline. So you mark, I'm going to mark my 5 inches here so you can see the wideness is 5 inches, and then the depth, because it is not very deep, also the depth, because if you mark, if the sleeve is, sorry, I beg your pardon, if the neckline is wide and then it's deep, it's going to be falling out. So don't make the depth too deep. So for the depth of this neckline, I'm going to use about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. It has to be very high. That is the only way it's going to sit really properly. So you're just going to come and then you mark it like this. It's like a boat, like a canoe. So I'll go ahead, I'll cut it open now for you to see. I'm just trying to do my slope properly. So you can see how beautiful this neckline is looking. So you understand what I'm trying to say. So when you are cutting this, the same thing you are going to do for the back. So once you place it like this now, so you see where the front is staying. So the back neckline automatically is going to start from here now. So the back neckline is going to start from here. So it's going to go in like that. So I don't want to cut it because I'll still use it for the last one. So now this is how the back neckline is going to be. It's going to come from this point like this. Okay, so that is for the boat neckline. So the last one that we're going to cut is the wide round neckline. So this one is almost like an off shoulder neckline. So when cutting this one also, you have to be very careful so it does not fall from your shoulders. So for this kind of neckline, you are going to come like this. You make sure you measure the shoulder. For this pattern, the shoulder is actually 7 inches, which is 14. You make sure that you have your shoulder, and then you use, depends on how wide you want from your shoulder to the neckline. That's the gap. That's what I mean, like the armhole part. So that is what you use to cut this kind of neckline. So most times you use 5 inches. 5 inches is like standard, which will be very okay. So you can see what I have left is just like 2 inches. Okay. So from this part, the depth of this neckline is usually deep. So it is usually between 7 and 8 inches. So you mark it like this, and then you create a very round deep, round like this. So I'm just using my free hand. So you can use your pattern curve like this to mark it out nicely. For those of you that don't have pattern curve, that's why I'm trying to use my free hand. And then you mark that inside of it. So this back piece, I'm just going to use this to cut it. I'll cut both of them together so you understand how it is. So you can see how it is looking. So the back, just make sure that your back, the back piece, they are aligning nicely. it is always better to do it this way, like I explained. Don't try to measure, just mark it like this. So now for that, for the back depth of the neckline, you can determine for this kind of neckline. Most times the back is usually very deep. For this one we use 7 inches. So for this, the back most times you can use 8 inches. You make it deeper than the front. So it's like an off shoulder, and yeah, you create your curve like this for it. So that's for the back piece. I'll cut it out now. So this one was for the boat neckline. So now this is for the last one. So I'll cut the front one now. So you can see what we have. So you see how the neckline is looking really deep. So the back, this is the back piece. You just make sure that they align like this, and then you place the front piece on it. So you can see how they are looking. So if you want the back pattern, if you want it to be deeper, you can still go deeper. But the like some excuse me, like the gauge is here. Just make sure it does not exceed that 5 inches. So thank you so much. I've come to the end of this video right now. If you find this video helpful, please, I would appreciate if you hit on the like button. If you have any question, please drop your question on the comment section. I would reply all of the questions. So thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you.